Hello, friends and beautiful people. It is Kathryn and I'm, Elevated Consciousness Coach and 5D Visionary. This is episode 2 of All Things Ascension. We are talking today about the DNA, your divine blueprint. I'm going to talk about what that is in a second. We are very, very lucky today because I have a special guest joining us for this talk. Who better to talk about the DNA than my friend and my mentor and the creatrix of the proprietary and trademark method, which is the DNA Activation and Restructure Method, Sacred DNA Activation and Restructure Method, Samantha Bearden. She graciously agreed to come on live with us here today and talk, which is awesome because when I thought about bringing this topic forth, not only do I do a lot of work with DNA, it is a very important part of what I do as an elevated consciousness coach, but it is, something that I feel is we're in such auspicious times right now for being able to bring forth levels of activation, levels of alignment that perhaps have not been available to us before. So, hi Amanda, hi Samantha, I'm going to bring you on in just a sec. Thanks for being here, my dear. We are really being called up in so many ways to expand our influence. And when I say expand our influence, that means that we are moving into the next portal of human awakening. This obliges us. It really gives us this kind of renewed sense of responsibility about how we want to carry our energetic frequency forth in the world. What kind of energetic signature do we want to be responsible for? And having our DNA activated directly contributes to elevating our frequency and being able to hold it and keep it. And we're going to talk about why this particular DNA activation method, which is a proprietary and trademark method that I mentioned, why this is so unique and different. And it really is, it rises above other DNA activation methods for several reasons, but primarily because this method does remove seals, frequency fences, implants, tags, seals, holographic inserts that I mentioned, implants, from the body, which is what keeps us from moving into a higher station of awareness, an elevated electromagnetic signature, and being able to keep it without giving it away. And without having these seals and frequency fences, implants, tags, etc. being removed, sure, we can elevate our frequency. Absolutely. We can expand our awareness. We can move into different dimensional realities, but we don't necessarily get to stay there and keep that level of frequency because the seals, the frequency fences keep pushing us back down into density. So who better to talk about this with me than my friend and mentor, Samantha Bearden, who is waiting for me to bring her on. So I think I'm going to do that because I figure, hey, let's just maximize our time together here. So let me see first if I am live in our group in the right place. I definitely should be. Let's go ahead and see what's up. And feel free to, if you have questions that you want to ask Samantha specifically or myself, we're probably going to answer a lot of your questions here today, but feel free to put them here in the comments and we'll go through them if time permits. I was also going to talk about time in the DNA today, but I feel like if I have Samantha here with me, I want to extract as much juiciness out of our time here together as we possibly can. So we'll leave time in the DNA perhaps for another day. So let me see if I'm in here. I don't know why it takes so long to upload in the group, but I'm going to bring Samantha on. Let's hope that works. Hello, Samantha, can you hear me? Samantha, can you hear me? In the spirit of Hanukkah, I'm singing Yentl. All right, let's see. Are you guys seeing Samantha and hearing her? I hope. And me. And by the way, those of you who are asking for the replay, I know some of you have to jump off or you can't watch the whole thing. That's okay. I am going to be uploading this to my YouTube channel, and I will give a copy to Samantha to share with her peeps in the Abundance Flash Mob as well. Let's see. Facebook, please cooperate. Yes. Yes. Okay, now I'm adding you. Now it's official. It says adding. I'm getting the little wait button. Come on. It's taken a minute. I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi or Samantha's or if it's a Facebook deal. There she is.
Robbie, can you hear me? Oh my gosh, I had to rotate my phone. Oh, hello, brightness.
Well, now there's a little bit of lag time on the live, but yes, we
did it.
Yes.
I'm so impressed. I was like sending out the good mojo yesterday because I have issues getting people on live. Well, I had. Now I have issues getting myself on live.
I'm glad it's not just me. Well, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time. I know I kind of approached you last minute.
Yeah.
But it felt like if I was going to come on and talk about DNA, who better to come on and talk with me about
Girl,
this
I would have been
stuff
offended if you hadn't.
I know, and I would have heard about it too. So everybody, please welcome my friend and mentor, Samantha Bearden. She is the Sacred DNA Activation Method Restructurista. This is her proprietary method. It is a trademark method. It is a standout method, really, against any other DNA activation method out there. And for several reasons, which we're going to kind of dig into that a little bit. But right off the bat, thanks for being here, Samantha. I really appreciate it. And I would love to give the little gift to our listeners and watchers here of how this method came to you, because not only for my own edification, because I love this story, but people need to know because it is such an important part and such a pivotal part of your life, not only professionally, but personally. So would you share that with us, please?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking me. Of course, I told you, pillars. Are you okay? Because you're frozen on my end. We good? We're a little bit frozen.
We're a little bit frozen, but it's moving. It's
okay, good. So thank you for asking me to join you in this conversation, which is something that I talk about 24/7, all the time. Like yours is all things Ascension, mine's all things DNA. But I think my necklace might be. Is my necklace scraping my microphone? We're good, huh? Something is scraping something.
Yes, it might be. That might be the noise that we're hearing.
All right, I'm going to take out my headphones. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Hey, high five. Let me see. I'm going to turn up the volume because I can't hear you now. Okay, I did it. And oh my gosh, we have so much fun together. That's another thing that I love about you, doing this work and also just like, being funny, having similar senses of humor like I do with the Restructured Method practitioners. So the DNA Restructure Method came to me, as a child and in my science class. I had heard, like everybody our age, I don't think they teach it anymore because technology and things are changing, but I had heard that we had 2 good strands of DNA. We have 12 strands. And then we have 2 that are good and the rest that are junk. And I was like, that just doesn't sit right with me as a child. So that's the backtrack, throughout my life. I didn't know that it was a backtrack until, this really came to be. And so I went throughout my life, started to look at things in a spiritual way around the DNA and how to work on the ascension. Like how do we get connected to those higher strands of DNA? So I just wanted to know, because it wasn't junk, because if it was, we would have, evolved out of it. And so I had this spiritual journey that I went on, and I'm still on, but it took me through all different types of spirituality. From, I was raised Baptist, and I love Jesus. He's awesome. And now I love him even more, because now I'm like, oh yeah, you're really awesome. Now I know even more about him. And then I studied Buddhism and Taoism, and I was looking at, not witchcraft, but witchcraft, earth magic, because Mother Earth, y'all, we do carry the same DNA. Duh. If we didn't, we wouldn't be able to be on the planet. Exactly. But that wasn't the conversation that I was having back then. And then it just led me to this time period in my life where I was able to have my DNA activated. This is in the 90s, and I didn't even know what I was walking into. I didn't know what I was getting into. I just knew, it was a full body yes. And I was just like, I know that. And it's funny, because now when people come to me, they're like, I don't even know, but I know that it's a yes, and I have to do this. So it's kind of the vibe that we get, until we get deep into it. And so again, this is in the 90s, and I had my DNA activated, and things changed dramatically. But I went throughout my life from that point not feeling grounded and connected to the activation that I had had. So, and it was like, that was the journey that I was on, was how do I bring that amazing spiritual, energetic, like shifting experience that I had into my body. And so the DNA Restructure Method was born that way, because I was in a conversation with myself and my guides. I'm like, okay, you guys, I know that I'm supposed to be doing something bigger, more people, and I know that it's with the DNA. I just don't know what it looks like. And one night I went to sleep, and then I woke up in the middle of the night, but I didn't really wake up. I just sat up and I started writing. And then I went back to sleep. And then when I woke up, I was like, that was the DNA Restructure Method. I was like, this is it. This is it. It gave me a formula. It gave me a blueprint that I could share with people to have this spiritual awakening, to have this spiritual conversation, to have this spiritual movement inside of them, and actually bring it into their physical being and actually embody it, on this level, the cellular level. We say cellular level, but it was, in the level of the body, where the body recognizes this conversation and then adjusts accordingly to match that vibration, to open the doors, to unlock all of the higher strands of DNA. So there's like coding in those strands, and we have to evolve lower out of this duality, this conversation of duality, to access. Then I didn't really know how to share it because it had never been shared before. So I just was like, I kind of blurted it out into my spiritual community. Doing this DNA activation restructures you on a cellular level. And, if you want to join me, holler. And that's how it came to be.
And you got to activate your son.
I had to. Oh, yeah, that's the part of the story that you wanted to hear. Okay, so yes. So when the method came to me, it was still, even though I had written it down and I said, oh, okay, this is what it is. I had never done it before, and I didn't know what I was doing or how to do, I didn't know. This had never been done. There's nothing on it. And so I just put it out there, and I had a couple of people that, I was going to work with. But before I could work with them, my son broke his femur. So he was 2-ish, and he was roughhousing with his dad. I mean, and he broke his femur. And in the hospital, we went to the hospital. I was really devastated. That was one of those times when it's really a spiritual test. It's a test of faith, because I was sitting in the hospital, and hospitals are really weird energetically anyway. And so I'm trying to get out of my own way as a mother, being, first of all, pissed at with my guides. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? And they were like, activate and restructure DNA. That's what you do. And I was like, okay. Guess it's what we're doing now. And so I just got into the moment. It's kind of it's like a journey. I went into, this space and was sitting, next to my son, and he's in the hospital bed. And I just, looked at the energy. I just went in and just it's kind of like surgery, kind of did the work until I felt or heard that it was complete. And then just, waited. And so he had to get a cast. He had a whole spica body cast. It was harsh. He was just learning to walk, and that was set back. And so we were had to put him in diapers because he couldn't walk. And that maintaining that cast was really hard. And so we had some issues with it, and we had to take my son back to the doctor within a week. And the doctor was and he had to do a different cast. He had to take the cast off. And he said, well, let's just do some x-rays anyway while you're here. And they did some x-rays, and he came out, and it took him forever. And he came out, and he was like, okay, come in this room with me. And here's your son's leg now. And he was like, and this is unheard of. So all of the bone had stitched together. It had come together. There was no, I've got chills. There was no, you had to really, really look to even see the break that was there. And it was bad. The break was bad. His bone was bad. So you really had to look. And he was like, he said, he changed the cast. It was a different cast then, so it wasn't so hard. But he said, I don't have to put a cast on him, but I have to put a cast on him because it's not long. He hasn't been. And he said, I can't not put him in a cast because, I would lose my position on the medical board or whatever if I didn't follow the protocol. And he said, but your son, it's healed. And so I was like, it worked. And that was it.
Yeah. And then, sometimes we need those kind of situations to, even though we may believe it in our heart of hearts that this is something that's true and aligned with the higher spiritual truth, but when it actually plays out in the physical, then we're like, okay.
Especially like that. Yeah. It was my child.
Right?
It was my child. I have 3 children, and the older 2 have never had a broken. I wouldn't, I could see that. I saw that timeline. I didn't know that it was a timeline then, but I saw that timeline in that moment. And I was like, I choose this. And thankfully I did, because if I doubted myself and not done it, then I probably wouldn't be on this conversation with you. It'd be a whole different ball game. So, yeah. And the more that we go on about, ascension, and it's not just a consciousness ascension. We are meant to be in our body to the best of its ability, in this process. So we're not like ascending, like,
You're frozen.
the what's different between activation and restructuring, what's different between this method and other modalities is, one, this method brings out the best in every other thing that you put yourself into or have put yourself into. It really it ramps up, it just like takes it to the next limit. So it's an all-encompassing, because it's your DNA. I mean, like, it's your signature, it's your DNA. So once your DNA is activated and restructured physically in the physical, then like the whole world does change for you. Number two is the restructuring. When we do restructuring, we are removing distortion off of the DNA, out of our cellular memory. We are going in there, and we are repurposing our body. So it's like repurposing. We're reanimating our physical, because we're getting rid of the distortions, the things that aren't supposed to be on our DNA. And that, when in getting rid of that, then it brings like this different coding into your higher strands and allows you to connect with the coding, flip on the switch that is, what makes us have the ability to be a galactic human, to use like all of our senses. So when we remove that in the physical, you really do have a physical shift. Like, your body really does change more. If we turn back the clock, basically, because of the integration of the restructuring, because of that work that we do. So it's not all here in the ethers, which is fine. That brings you, to a place, but it has to come down into your physical. So when you have your DNA activated and restructured, then you go and you do other things, like womb healings, or, anything. I don't know why that came out. Somebody must need to know about this. But any kind of other thing that you get into, it just takes it to the next level, because your DNA can recognize that the energy inside of that, modality, or, whatever it is that you're working on, your DNA can recognize the energy and aligns itself with the highest vibration of that. And so then they communicate. And then, because our DNA is both a transmitter and a receptor. So we're constantly transmitting and we're constantly receiving. And that's what I heard you say. You're like, what are you receiving? What are you creating? So when our DNA is activated and restructured, so it's vibrating at this higher vibration, then it looks for that higher vibration to, it seeks that out to connect with that, and therefore even expand even more. So when your DNA actually expands the energy,
Oh, I felt it too. And what's interesting is that when you are activating and restructuring a client, you feel it in them, because that you're already holding that resonance in that space for that client. So you're already at that vibration, if you will. So when you feel them come up to that vibration, sometimes you just feel that whoosh when you're working with that person, and that not only is that incredibly gratifying, but it again is that physical confirmation of that shift.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It really is.
Yes, it is. And so when we do activation and restructuring using the DNA activation and restructure method, we are helping our DNA to express more of the vitality, to live longer, to be healthier. It's basically what we're doing is we are activating the instructions that are coded inside of us for a longer life, a longer, better, more fulfilling life. We're connecting, and it's just like I said, that vibration when we're receiving and transmitting. So we're constantly like, what are we receiving?
And that brings us to a nice little segue here, that when more and more people on the planet have their DNA activated and restructured, because we are always signaling to each other through the DNA, that we can download to each other certain instruction sets of the DNA, which already knows how to hold these energies, it already knows how to hold these vibrations, but we are signaling to each other all the time and downloading to each other. This is the way we're meant to be. This is what we're meant to vibe at. And that's what I love about DNA activation, that not only are we activating each other, we're informing each other through the DNA all the time, but we are so tied to Mother Earth that we are upgrading the planet all the time, with each one of us getting activated in our DNA to 12 strands or beyond. We are helping Mama Earth, Gaia, Terra do her thing, which is she is naturally meant to ascend as well. So that's how tied we are to the Earth.
Without her, I mean, like, and you can look in that, scientifically as well. You can see the planet is shifting, and by shifting, it's like shifting on its axis. There's like certain things that are going on. So we are meant to ascend together,
Yes.
with the planet, with each other. We're meant to, link arms. I mean, like, our DNA is a link. Our DNA has, for the codes of our DNA are, the same. Those are, it's like those are like the God codes, and that is the same. So we all have that. That's part of existing on this planet, but also existing in other, I want to say dimensions, and other, timelines simultaneously, is that reception and transmission of information. So, I was laughing about how we were talking about, coming out of the third dimension, the fourth dimension, we're going to the fifth dimension. So if we can collectively believe that this is possible, to be existing in duality, okay? Because we already know that we're in duality. So if it's possible that we're like, oh yeah, we exist, in duality, or we exist in other places, then where does that end? Like, we could exist in multiple places simultaneously, and then have access to that information through our
And we do, don't we? I would argue that is our divine blueprint, to exist, in multi-reality, multi-dimensionally. And when we arrive at this specific vibration, then we can have conscious awareness of being in those multi-realities and multi-dimensionalities, and kind of flip the script, go back and forth, and plug into different realities. We have that ability.
Yeah. Well, that's why, and I know you're going to talk about your, the Timelines course, but that's why, that's also so important, that conversation there, because just having that conversation is opening us up to our multidimensionality, which is also helping us unlearn these antiquated ways of being, and also distortions that were placed on our DNA and on the accidental grids of the planet. You know, having all of that, you know, removed, and then having the conversation of, okay, this is what it looks like to exist across this. Opening up that dialogue is, again, activating that transmitter, you know, in our DNA that's going to go out and look for that energetic signature to tie into. So that's why we talk about abundance. You know, abundance, I'm like, prosperity and abundance is coded in our DNA. We were made to thrive. We were created to thrive. What had happened was we got here and, you know, we had to just go through this duality. We had to go through this journey, this experience, to know that we could have the possibility of reconnecting with what was already ours, you know, and all that's inside of that. You know, we don't even know.
We don't even know.
We don't even know.
It's true. It's absolutely true. And, you know, when all of us, and I mentioned this the other day, all of us are star seeds. All of us have that lineage within us. And every single one of us is an expression of many, many different expressions of starseed awareness, let's just say. And when we activate the DNA, we open up, or we remember those instruction sets of who we were before. And we can really step into our gifts that we had when we were that being from the Pleiades, or we're expressing that part of our genetic potential, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we're right now we're only projecting like part of our potential. You know, we're only projecting part of our galactic human potential. It's like this time of ascension is more about expanding into who we are, and switching on that, you know, just flipping the switch. Mm-hmm. See what happens. You know, to be created. Like, you know, like I said, it's not about consciousness alone. The ascension isn't, and I'm not the only one who says this, but ascension, but it was something that I had to unlearn, because I did come from the school of thought that ascension was like, you know, I would ascend and leave the body or whatever. It was all up here, until I started unlearning the things and uncovering and, you know, sharing the things that was like, it is a physical ascension as well. And what we are doing inside, and I've seen it and I've experienced it, and my clients have experienced it, especially those that have, you know, diseases that, you know, are pretty challenging. I've seen it, you know, decode that disease and, you know, connect in with the potential, you know, our potential expressed, and be healthy, you know.
And reconnecting people with their natural ability to heal themselves.
Yes. Because we're coming from a place, like, for years we've had, you know, energy clearings. We've had, you know, we've worked with, I even did that. We were working, clearing energy. We're always clearing out the energy. And that's why the restructuring now, when we're restructuring, it is more than this clearing out, because we are going on this level that, I'm going to say it's dimensional, but it's still expressed in this physical. So when we do that restructuring, we're still moving into the physical through this, you know, level of energy, and finding where that distortion is in the body, in the cells, in the blood, in the DNA, you know, and through our lineage. Mm-hmm. And so
and we can, even break the ties in our legacy too, going back generations behind us and kind of perpetuating health and vitality for generations going forward, which is a really important thing to mention here as well, I think.
Absolutely. You're rewriting, say that 5 times fast. You're rewriting your script. Once you have access to that magic that's in your DNA, I know I say it's magic and magic is elusive, but that's really what it is. It becomes a journey of magic. But once we, have access to that, the potential there is, it's exponential.
Yeah.
The potential is exponential, and that is why, now scientists like, oh, we can actually see another strand of DNA. Well, no, because we are unlocking that potential and now expressing that, potential. So we've unlocked it, and now we're connecting with it on a physical level, and we're able to express it, so it's able to be viewed. It's able to be, measured.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that you see less and less posts from scientific communities calling those other 10 strands of DNA junk DNA. You've obviously noticed that. You like to share articles with us in the Sacred DNA Activation and Restructure Method group that, we are moving away from in the scientific community from calling that junk DNA, because they're starting to scratch their head and be like, wait a minute, that's not junk. Like, yeah.
Duh. If it was, we wouldn't have it. We would have evolved out of it. That's like the first thing that I would say, but I'm not a scientist, But this is like, it's an alchemical change for us. And the biggest hang up that I would say, and also the biggest asset, is our mind, being able to expand our consciousness enough to connect in with our body. So there's the thing, like when I had my DNA activated in the 90s and it was up here and it was like constantly, I didn't know how to bring it into my body. Now, when we do the work that we do, we still have to have the conversation with, our people that is like, okay, this is your journey and here's what's showing up. And, these miasms and distortions and seals and things that have affected you, ways of being that have affected you that you can remember even in this lifetime, are not, you can rewrite your script from that point. You can rewrite what you want, how you want your life to show up. So whatever gets in the way, and I love that thing that you say too, the gift is in the garbage, treasure in the trash. Which one?
Gift in the garbage.
Treasure's in the trash. That way I can flip it a little bit. But so that is, one of the things. It's about, when you do the work on yourself, having the wherewithal to see that, oh, there is something to be learned here. This is going to elevate me.
Well, exactly. It's not a passive process. It's not like you just sign up with me or you and you're like, here, upgrade me. Yeah, okay. We're facilitating that for you, but the rest is really up to you, because it's not a passive process. Nothing about Ascension is passive. Everything about Ascension is participatory. So to the degree that you want to see these shifts in your life play out in the material plane, you have to be able to step up and make those manual upgrades, which means you got to upgrade your belief system.
Definitely.
You got to upgrade those lower thought forms, because that's what's keeping you in a low vibe and not allowing you to step into the alignment that we can facilitate for you. It is truly, entirely up to the individual when they have their DNA activated and restructured, how much they want to step into.
Yeah, because sometimes we uncover some stuff. Like, we do uncover a lot of stuff, but sometimes stuff is uncovered that you're like, whoa, maybe you didn't want to know or you didn't want to deal with, but that is part of it, because there's no way that we can exist in this higher vibration with the heaviness, the weight of the lower vibrational thoughts or patterns or whatever feelings. It's really more about like your conversation with yourself, because that's like the number one conversation. But those thoughts and feelings that you have, if they're weighted down, when they come to the light, then that's where the gift is, because you're like, word, I didn't even know this about myself. Now I get to clear it out and clean it up and, raise my vibration. And so, not that the ascension is a process is passive. It's not supposed to be as painful as it is. It's as painful as it is because we identify with these heavier vibrations that we think that they're us. And so, like, who am I when I let this go? Yeah. Who am I? What would it take if I let this go? How can I, connect to this higher version of myself? Well, you got to let this go. That's why, you can see it playing out in the world. Instead of like being worried about things, it's like, oh yeah, we're raising the vibration. We couldn't even get to this level if we didn't know what we're finding out, so that we can clear up the shit.
So I want to know how much time you have left here, Sam, because I did want to touch on something here that I think you and I are really inclined to talk about, because I don't see it talked about very much when people talk about DNA activation restructuring, in terms of what is keeping us from keeping the vibration of the DNA activation, because there's a lot of DNA activation methods out there that don't remove the seals, that don't remove the tags, the implants, etc. And when you do that, obviously you stay in a level, or you get pushed back down, I should say, to the density level that you were holding before. And without the seals or the tags, the implants being removed, sure, you can spiritually awaken and elevate your frequency, but eventually you're going to get pushed back down into density. So I know that people talk about seals a lot as frequency fences, but I wanted to touch a little bit on tags and implants and holographic inserts, because they're similar but not the same. So would you address how seals are different from tags and implants and holographic inserts?
Yeah, so we have to use language to describe things. Also, when we're having this conversation, there is transmission and activation going on, below the surface. That's another thing, that you can, I'm being called to just share this, that you can, change your mindset is to just listen. Just listen. Don't listen. You don't have to listen too hard. It's not that hard, because the information, because of the conversation that Kathryn and I have, because of the conversation that the Sacred DNA Restructured Methods practitioners are in and committed to, the energy that flows through the words that we say it's deeper and more than what you're hearing. There's stuff, it's kind of like binaural beats, but it's not. There's a lot going on underneath, there's a lot going on underneath what you're experiencing using the senses that we have. There's more, because we're working on a cellular level. So the seals that were placed on the DNA or on the axonal grids of the planet that affect the DNA for every being that comes into the planet were placed on, multitudes. They had specific agendas to keep, and I'm saying agenda, I know it sounds like conspiracy theory, but just go with me, because I am not. The agenda of the seal was to prevent the being on the planet from ascending or from returning to, now if we're in agreement that we're all multidimensional beings, then we came down to the planet to like have a jam, and then we're going to go back, or either take the information back or come back and forth to our higher vibrational places that we came from. So these seals were placed on the DNA to keep us oscillating in the cycle of birth and death, to make us forget, kind of like Sleeping Beauty. We fell asleep, you know, and we pricked our finger on the spinning wheel, and like we fell into a deep sleep. Literally, that kind of has some weight there. And into this sleep, this forgetful. So we're like, imagine this is a dream. And when we come out of the dream, we're going to be like amazing beings with, you know, lasers shooting out of our eyes. I'm kidding. But like amazing, you know, the best versions of ourselves when we wake up. So it's like, okay, well, what do I have to do to wake up? We want the prince to come kiss you? Okay, well, that's you. But it's like the seals that were placed on the DNA are to keep us forgetting, to keep us thinking that we are, I'm going to say less than, that we are supposed to die of cancers, that we're supposed to get sick. That's how you do it. You get sick and you die. No, that's not how we're supposed to go out. That, you know, you are not an abundant being. Ugh. And that goes into implants and things like that, because the implants are focused on like particular, they can be focused on an area, you know, on the planet, but the implants that are placed on our DNA are really, really specific in keeping us individually in our own web of just struggle, you know, and the different, like the seals that were placed on our DNA they start from hundreds of thousands of years ago. So it's basically our history that we believe is our history. Like, oh, okay, yeah, you know, we're taught that. So we have to like unlearn that. Whereas the implants that we come across, or, you know, the false ascension, you know, matrix and things that we come across are more like individual specific, and keep them in their own suffering, let's just say.
Yes. And one thing that, you know, these implants or certain inserts that are part of the false ascension matrix, they keep broadcasting a signal of disempowerment,
Yes.
disenfranchisement from our divinity.
Yes.
You know, keeps us in that veil of forgetting and in that density. It keeps us in that low vibration where we're not even having frequency access to who we really are. And that's what I think is a common denominator for the inserts and the implants, etc. And like you said, sometimes they can be very, very specific, but they're ultimately also distorted grounding mechanisms.
Yes. And okay, so it's a program that's being transmitted. Okay, so where are you in your if your DNA hasn't been activated and restructured, then you're receiving this transmission, you know, based on the level of the vibration that you're vibrating at. So it's normal to you. You think that it's like, and that's why it's designed. So I feel like the tags and the implants and things are a newer, like, technology kind of thing, where the seals are like ancient, you know, really, really old, but it's still the same thing. The purpose is to keep us from recognizing and connecting in and receiving and transmitting our, what we would call divinity, or, you know, our awesomeness, basically. And that's, you know, that is, so if you're getting the program, you know, then that's what you're getting. You get when you have your DNA activated and restructured, and the implants that are and tags and all of that is removed, then you're no longer in that conversation. You're no longer a part of that. It doesn't speak to you. It doesn't, you know, there's no more of that for you, because you can't recognize it. You're not hearing it. You're not feeling it. You're not knowing it, because it's not the vibration that is being transmitted and being received any longer.
Exactly. And with the method of sacred DNA activation, we are looking for very actively
Mm-hmm.
several seals, several implants, parasites as well, because we could have
Yep.
spiritual and energetic
Yes.
parasites. Holographic inserts. I keep finding new ones because,
Oh,
like you
yeah.
said, it is newer tech.
Yeah.
And as we are waking up more and more, you know, the powers that be that want to keep us in this veil of forgetting and veil of darkness, they're getting a little more crafty
they're
with
grasping
ways
at
to,
straws. Yes,
you know,
they are.
subvert. Absolutely.
Yeah, so the Sacred DNA Restructured Method practitioners, y'all, just so you know, it is a rigorous program. It's not, I'm not deterring you because I really would love to have more practitioners. If you're interested, holler and we can talk. But it is, just so you know, the people who are working with you, when you work with a Sacred DNA Restructured Method practitioner, they have earned their stripes. They have done the work. They continue to do the work constantly, and it's not a walk in the park, because we know what we're doing. We know what we're up to, and not to say that we're better. I'm just saying, like, it is part of our commitment to ourselves and to the work that we do, and to you. It's part of our commitment to be this thorough and really, look at it and really do the work and be in that conversation. It's not easy. So we love you. We love you so much. And so, yes, we look extensively at things, and sometimes we're like, I'm not really sure what this is. We have these background conversations like, have you seen this? Do you know this feeling? Have you experienced this? Like, it's pretty interesting, but we are very thorough, and because our commitment is for all of us to have access to this and be amazing, be awesome. I mean, why not?
Why not? There it is in a nutshell.
I feel everybody on the planet, if you're on the planet right now, then you have the right and you deserve to have your DNA activated and restructured. I feel so strongly about that. That's why I'm here. And, then there are those of us that are going to learn the method and help with that conversation on the planet.
So that's a perfect segue, Samantha. So how do people become Sacred DNA Activation and Restructured Method practitioners with you?
They get their DNA activated and restructured by a restructured method practitioner first. You can do it with me too if you haven't. Absolutely, I love it. And then we talk about the course and what it looks like to be a Sacred DNA Restructured Method practitioner, and see if it's for you. And if it is, then you sign up. I just finished level 1 again, and because 2020 and moving forward, the energies are different, and there was like new material that was dropped in to the method, and I did it live. So now there would be an e-course, and that you would participate in and have access to me and the group. And then there's level 2 that's starting in January, that will be live. And then level 3 is in February. And then the final frontier, which is level 4, which is where you are able to go out and actually teach the Sacred DNA Restructure Method. And the kicker is that the thing about this method is it just brings more of you to the table. So when you're going out and you're teaching it the way that you do it, the way that people are attracted to you. So you're, bringing that more of yourself into the fold. So that is how you just reach out to me, DM me, reach out to Kathryn. She can connect us. And that's how you would start the journey of becoming a Sacred DNA Restructure Method practitioner.
And can people still find you on your SamanthaHeals.com website, or is that under construction?
It is. I still need to do that. No, it's under construction. Okay. They can find me on on my Facebook business page, and or on Instagram. I'm a social mompreneur. But I am super, super excited about this next year coming up. I know that people are joking about it because we still have lots of work to do, but things are clearer now, and especially now, 12/21, y'all. It is a huge deal. I mean, everybody's like, oh, we've already heard it before, but it's not. This 12/21 is different. This one is going to be different. It's the energies coming off of 2020. We have moved so much, and pat yourself on the back. We have moved so much weighted energy this year, obviously. I'm going to have to send you the picture that I just took of you. It's so funny because your face is like,
I just lost our feed. I think we have a lot of distractors and interrupters here trying to keep us from
we
talking.
do.
Because the weirdest thing just happened with my phone. So please do send my lovely picture. I'm sure it's glorious.
It's so funny. I'm going to. But I was just saying that I'm excited about this year, and to just drive it home, everyone, that we really need to just like dig out all of these seeds that have been planted throughout lifetimes, that have sprouted nasty roots or weeds or things like that, whatever it takes, because the time is now. Okay, we've been doing a lot of work on ourselves. Even if you're just starting you say that you're just starting your spiritual journey, you've still been doing a lot of work. And now we're coming out of apprenticeship and moving into the master role. Like, this is where we are right now, and it's time to move your meat. Got to get moving. Like, it's time. It's past time. We got these babies to raise and make sure. Oh my gosh. Before we pop off, I do want to say that children are amazing. But my kid, it's been stuck in my mind, and I was like, I've got to share this. So I made him watch A Christmas Carol, Muppets Christmas Carol. And his whole takeaway from that movie, he was like, I love the Ghosts of Christmas Present because he kept forgetting what he was saying because he was constantly in the present. He kept forgetting, and I'm butchering it, but when he said it, he was just like, that's the thing that I love about it, was that because he's always in the present. He's not in the past. He's not in the future. He's always in the present. And I was like, word up, kid. Who's your mama?
That's awesome. Well, kids now, especially, they are tuned in at a different level than we were when we were kids. I think that's absolutely true. And thank God for it.
I know. Yes. If I had been the super freak then that I am now, I don't even know. I mean, like, flown my freak flag. But
well, Samantha, I do have to close us out, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for being here. And technical difficulties aside, I am going to be uploading this, and I will share the replay with you so you can share it with your community. But thank you so much. This has just been a wonderful conversation, and maybe this is just part one, because I feel like there's so much more to talk about. And Thank you for all of your light that you bring to the planet with your work that you do. And thank you for being a light in my life. Thank you, sister.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye. All right, guys.
Oopsie.
So
Let's see the room.
we are going to just talk really briefly. And I'm here to answer any questions for you guys. I'm sorry about the mic interference and any kind of like feedback that we were getting. So I apologize about that. I do think that there were disruptors here on this live who have kept us from trying to talk about things, but their efforts, as usual, are thwarted. But I just want to know if you guys have any questions at all. And if you don't have anything here right now, you can put it in the comments afterwards. I will be uploading this replay to my YouTube channel. All of the All Things Ascension episodes will be on my YouTube channel, and you'll be able to find them here in the group. I will hashtag here in Global Acceleration of Ascension group that it's All Things Ascension, and I'll also hashtag episode numbers. So it'll be easy for you to find in the group feed, okay, if you guys aren't on YouTube. So yeah, no worries. Again, we want to just thank Samantha Bearden for being here. She is just such a wonderful wealth of knowledge on this subject. I feel like we could talk about this for days and days on end. If you are interested in becoming a sacred DNA activation practitioner, you can get in touch with me, or you can find Samantha in her group Abundance Flash Mob, which is an amazing group here on Facebook. Social Mompreneur is her Instagram handle. You can also find her at Samantha Heals, which is her Facebook page for her business. So thanks for being here, you guys. If you don't have any questions, that's cool. Throw them in the comments after the replay too, and feel free to share this if you like. If you are interested in DNA Activation and Restructure Method, becoming a practitioner, you do need to be activated to 24 strands. I don't think we mentioned the strand level, but to be a practitioner, it is 24 strands. I currently activate people at 24 and 48 strands. So if you're interested in having that done and you're ready to jump into 2021 with this level of activation, with this level of awakening and expansion, just reach out to me or reach out to Samantha. We're all in this together. We're all part of the same team. So thanks so much, guys, for being here and being a wonderful audience as usual. Love and